Well, thank you, Greg, and to Alison and to Paul and to Alex, and of course to you, Greg, and the wonderful team at the Department of Health who have done just such an extraordinary job in preparing for what is the biggest vaccination effort our country has ever undertaken. This is an historic day for Australia. Jane Malashak has seen many historic days in Australia over the course of her more than 80 years of life. She grew up in Poland in the Depression. She went through the Second World War. She came to Australia. She built a wonderful life here and is still living it gloriously today. And to have her here today, and so many others who have joined us, both in the front line of those who we know are most vulnerable and the front line who protect them, whether it's those working in quarantine on our border force, or those working with the aged in the aged care facilities and home care, or those working with disability care, and indeed those vulnerable Australians as well. What we're demonstrating today is our priorities on those Australians. What we're demonstrating today is our confidence. I am supremely confident in the expert process that has been led to get us to this day. So from tomorrow, tens of thousands of Australians over the course of the next week can confidently come forward from those key priority groups that have been defined to ensure that we move into this next phase of how we've been preparing and dealing with COVID-19. I said at the outset we were going to make our Australian way through this pandemic, and the Australian way has proved to be, when you look around the world, one of the most effective there is. And the reason for that, in my view, has consistently been the strength and resilience of the Australian people. The expertise that they've had available to them under the stewardship of Professor Kelly and Professor Murphy and so many others around the country has been exemplary. But it has been the response and the responsibility of Australians each and every day through this pandemic that has seen our Australian way through. And I say to my fellow Australians now, the next step of that journey begins. And so I call on my fellow Australians, and I have, by my own example today, joined by the Chief Nurse and Midwifery and the Chief Medical Officer of our country, together with those Australians who are in the top priority of this vaccination program, to say to you Australians, it's safe, it's important. Join us on this Australian path that sees us come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. The information is there for you to assess, for you to respond to. We have gone to great lengths with our scientific and medical community to ensure that the things you want to know about, that information is there for you. You're right to ask those questions. And that's why we have worked hard to ensure that you have that information, that our GPs are aware, and that you can have those conversations. But what matters is that we all get through this together. And we get through this together. Greg talked about putting the shoulders to the job. Well, today I put my shoulder to the jab. And that's what I'm asking Australians to do in joining me and all of their fellow Australians as we continue on the successful path we've been on.